Hello everyone and welcome back to the Chris Talks Football Podcast, episode number 30 of the show, and today we'll be looking at a few topics including Matchday 31 of the Premier League. We'll also be talking about the controversial White Lives Matter banner that was flown this week in this week's round of fixtures, and we'll also be talking about the Football League as well, as the playoffs in Leagues 1 and 2 have resumed after the hiatus. So the Matchday 31 saw the opportunity for the Reds Liverpool to crown themselves Premier League champions after 30 years. They had to make sure they did one half of their due service, and that was beating Crystal Palace at Anfield in front of obviously no fans. Let's see how they got on at Anfield for the first shot of the title.
Nice flick there by Firmino though. Henderson's cross, it's over Wijnaldum. Oh, it's put back in towards Salah. And then it dropped for Wijnaldum, who's put it wide.
It's a really good chance for Wijnaldum. He'll be disappointed.
Mane, beautifully done. Firmino, is he going to get the elusive home goal? Not quite.
Nowhere near enough power on it really to trouble the goalkeeper.
Hennessy can't be sure which side it's going to go. He's having another look. The side that the wall is covering, but it's certainly an option either side. Alexander-Arnold takes perfectly. Well, what a talent he is. He makes plenty of goals in his repertoire. He can score them too. He's got Liverpool off and running in the restart. Robertson crosses down to Henderson, and it's just about off the line.
One of the things with no one in the ground is you hear the noise of that post when it bounces off there. Virgil van Dijk again just can't sort his feet out quickly enough to get that rebound away.
2 minutes left to half-time. Much more like the... Oh, here's Salah to get the second, and the 100 up. Van Aanholt couldn't defend that, and Mo Salah was in behind him. In their 50th game of the season, they reach 100 goals. Wijnaldum. Fabinho. Alexander-Arnold's on the move, but Fabinho! Goodness me! Well, in an empty stadium, it doesn't get what it deserves.
He hit a similar one against Man City this season at the opposite end, but this is better.
Townsend again. Ball peters out. Salah gets a terrific ball. And Mane's in here, and he keeps up his run of scoring against Crystal Palace.
Again, coming in from that side, never feel like he's going to miss, just bends it in that far corner.
So with Liverpool comfortably beating Crystal Palace 4-0, probably the most devastating stat is that they did not let Crystal Palace, their opposition, take one single touch in their penalty area. Liverpool's incredible how good their defence and midfield were in that game. But if Chelsea were to beat City or draw against City, Liverpool will be crowned champion. So would City win and keep the title race going on for one more week? Here's what happened.
This is curled in, and Fernandinho got a very good header on that, which needed stopping.
Good save.
Curled invitingly and well defended by Chelsea. Mistake there though with Mendy. Pulisic, he's through here. Can he finish this? Christian Pulisic, you bet he can. The American has done it again for Chelsea. Bit of a smash and grab raid, but Chelsea have the lead here. And is that a moment which pushes Liverpool ever closer to confirming the title this evening? It's De Bruyne. It's a good one, and it's in. Brilliant free kick. Manchester City are level. What a splendid strike, and nothing at all that Arrizabalaga could do about that.
What a goal. It's too accurate, it's too fast, and it's just brilliantly hit.
And City realise there's a fast break on here if they get it right. Mahrez, early ball, lovely ball. Sterling! It's the post! Wow, that would have been some goal. It was a lightning counter-attack, and the width of the post prevented Manchester City going ahead. Here behind is Pulisic again. Fernandinho couldn't get there. Pulisic! Off the line! Abraham! He couldn't turn it in either. And the referee's watch doesn't buzz. He didn't go over the line.
There's Christian Pulisic doing everything right. He thinks he scored. Look at Carl Walker. Look at that. Look at that.
On goes Willian. Can he find Abraham? And he's bundled in. Is it Pulisic? How does that stay out?
Wow.
But it has. My goodness me, that almost defied belief and mathematics.
Great start from the goalkeeper, and then he's got to bounce back up. Look, he just manages to get something on that. Doesn't hit Fernandinho's hand, or there.
Oh, Fernandinho's handled the ball, hasn't he?
That's the one.
Fernandinho's handled the ball, and I think here there will be a penalty to Chelsea.
Yeah, that's a penalty.
It will be a penalty kick.
And a red card?
And a red card.
Yeah.
Fernandinho is off. He's never missed a Chelsea penalty, and he keeps that record going. It was a great spot kick. 2-1 to Chelsea, and Liverpool within touching distance of the title with that goal.
Congratulations then to Liverpool, as they have won the 2019-2020 Premier League season. After 30 years of going without a title, they have done it with arguably one of their best squads that they've ever had in their history. And it was deserved. Obviously, a 4-0 win against Crystal Palace did half of the job. Manchester City losing for the first time since the Premier League restarted confirmed their 30-year end. And they are champions of England. They thoroughly deserved it. They've had that team spirit, Jurgen Klopp, ever since he's come to Liverpool a couple of years ago. He's done sensational things with the side. Chelsea beat Manchester City to really further solidify their place into the top four. It gives Leicester a little bit of hope as well of maybe snatching that runners-up spot, because they're still around about 6 or 7 points behind the Citizens. But yeah, Chelsea did deserve to win the game in the end. Obviously, Manchester City had a man sent off for that handball. You heard earlier, Fernandinho handled it on the line. But yeah, Christian Pulisic and Abraham were really good. They caused City a lot of problems. And the penalty was, of course, deserved because of the handball, and Willian tucked it away. But yeah, for Chelsea, they've done really well this season as well. Obviously, 7 match days to go. They can confirm that they will be playing Champions League football despite the squad that they've had and the transfer business that was slapped onto them a year or so ago. You know, yes, they bought Pulisic. Yes, they're going to sign Hakim Ziyech and Timo Werner for next season, but the fact that they have got Champions League without those two key players is just testament to Chelsea. And yeah, Frank Lampard can be really, really happy with what he's achieved. And, you know, a lot of people doubted him, especially at the start of the season where, of course, he lost 4-0 to Manchester United. A lot of people were thinking, oh, this could be a season of, like, Arsenal's struggling even to get Europa League. But the fact that they've got Champions League just shows that Chelsea, if you play the youngsters and not just keep loaning them out every single season like you do, that maybe you will get a chance of Champions League football just as much if you had a team of superstars that you've bought from around Europe and around the world, really. But yeah, brilliant. Liverpool, absolutely brilliant. Trent Alexander-Arnold scoring one of the goals of the season for me, considering how many people were in that wall. And yeah, Mane, Fabinho with an absolute thunderbolt, and Jurgen Klopp will celebrate on through the next couple of weeks. They can take the foot off the gas because they are Premier League champions. As for Liverpool's opponents, Crystal Palace, who entered Anfield with a 4-match winning run, in which fact they conceded no goals in that time, they weren't very good, let's just say. They have been very good since obviously the lockdown ended and Project Restart was up and coming. But yeah, Crystal Palace are still in and around that mid-table area. I mean, however Roy Hodgson sees that defeat, it's still been a really good season for Palace, and I think if they can get into the top half, it would be one of Roy's best ever seasons. Jordan Ayew didn't score, Zaha wasn't really in the game, but you can't ignore the fact that as a whole, Palace have been really good this season. They've had a solid attack going forward. Milivojevic has been really reliable from the midfield. They've got an anchor in James McArthur, and yeah, they've got really good flair and pace in the likes of Zaha and Patrick Van Aanholt in that left back. So then, speaking of Leicester City trying to grab second place, they had an opportunity to do that at home to Brighton and Hove Albion, who by my reckoning need around about 3 or 4 wins to survive, as they've got a comfortable lead over the relegation pack.
Moy. Chase here for Connolly. Looked for a second to have the beating of James Justin, and he certainly made life difficult for him. And Lee Mason, coming in from behind, spotted the foul and points to the spot.
That's just mistimes it, and there is a collision with Connolly.
Mopé takes, Schmeichel saves. Read it perfectly, and it wasn't quite hit that way by Brighton's number 7. 0-0. Connolly to run at Soyuncu and found a bit of space, but not find the back of the net. There was a really important touch in there to carry it over for a corner.
And that's a brilliant recovery from Soyuncu.
Hardy very nearly taking advantage there.
When we talk about players being rusty, but Matt Ryan is usually such a reliable goalkeeper. What on earth?
Maddison with the cutback. Gray didn't catch it quite right. Ndidi and Soyuncu wide.
Well, it's certainly not an easy chance for the centre-half. It comes at him really quickly.
Well, Leicester looking more like themselves in this second half, and here's Maddison at the heart of it.
It's much brighter, much sharper from Leicester.
Chilwell looking for Vardy. Cushion down for Maddison.
Jamie Vardy in between the two centre-halves does the right thing, unselfishly lays the ball off, but it's wild from Maddison.
Vardy went near post, appeals for a handball. Lamptey gets it away.
Whipped in, was there a touch from Jamie Vardy? There was. Actually, you see Dunk, whether he's knocked off balance, he's completely in the wrong position. That arm is extended out. VAR have had a look at it and they think it's okay, but I think he's got away with one there, Dunk.
That's probably one you'd call a UEFA penalty, isn't it? Not a Premier League one.
In a pretty dull game at the King Stadium, that penalty save from Kasper Schmeichel, that heroic penalty save, was really the only highlight in that, because it was a pretty boring game, and yeah, no wonder I didn't watch it. But yeah, really good save from Kasper Schmeichel, who despite him getting on a bit now, I think he's 33 years old, so around a similar age to Jamie Vardy, he still has that class. Brendan Rodgers said in the post-interview that he was world-class, and he is a class keeper. I'm not sure if he's world class, as in, Ter Stegen or Manuel Neuer or Ederson, but he is a class keeper, and of course Leicester are really grateful to have him. Of course, won the Premier League a couple of seasons ago. It was a penalty. Obviously, Anne Connolly was fouled in the penalty area, but the point does little for Leicester's chances to grab second place off of Manchester City, just close the gap by 1 point. Brighton, though, again, with this point, hopefully, if other results go their way, I think Brighton should be safe if they get another 2-3 wins, I would say, because they're very close to 40 points now. They've got more points than they've played games, rather. So, another 2 or 3 wins, put in there a couple of draws, I think that's it. I think Brighton will stay up. They've had a really good season, Brighton. I think under Graham Potter, he's changed the style of play at the Amex, and it's coming into effect because they're playing some really decent, attractive brands of football now. Going to be vital as relegation rivals West Ham travel to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to take on Spurs. Spurs, who had been rather hard done by in their 1-1 draw against Manchester United in the last episode. Can they bounce back with a win and keep their hopes of Champions League football alive? West Ham really need to win this game if they have any chance of going on a run that will hopefully lead to survival come the last few matches of the Premier League season.
And Noble takes it, but he doesn't overcook it. And Lloris has to make the save. The follow-up is from Bowen. The initial stop from Antonio. In the end, the flag is raised. Lucas Moura again. He can hit one from here, and it's a very good one too. But turned aside by Fabianski.
He's been on the fringes, really, Lucas Moura, first 20 minutes, but that's more like it. Really does catch it well.
Dying embers of the first half here. Kane, but Balbuena's tight on him. And there's Diop to get it out, but only as far as Lo Celso is trying to smuggle a way through here. And Son with a chance right on half-time. A chance that's taken for Tottenham.
Be having a little look at the offside. There's that left toe. Yes. Are we talking left toes now again?
Yeah, this is going to be disallowed. And West Ham are reprieved. Lucas Moura. West Ham need to get numbers back. Tottenham are 4 against 3 here. Lo Celso for Kane, and he's put it wide.
Sometimes difficult to get the power, but for Harry Kane in full flight, that's a goal, I think.
Looked in again. Oh, and it's ended up in the back of the net, and the goal. Thomas Souček ended up on the deck, and it's a scrappy goal, but it's certainly what Tottenham Hotspur needed, and it's in keeping with the way the second half has started. Important ball, and Antonio was in there, and was thumped by Bowen, so close to the equaliser. Antonio, Souček, back comes Lamela, fresh legs. Here's a rival. Kane can be played through here by Son. Harry Kane leaving West Ham in his wake and finishing with aplomb. And surely will finish off West Ham United. Great relief for Harry Kane.
West Ham's woes post-lockdown continue with a 2-0 defeat at West Ham, and this London derby, obviously this was Tottenham's first defeat in the new stadium, played coming up against West Ham last season, but not anymore. West Ham are in deep trouble now. They're not even on 30 points yet. They really need to put a run together in these last 7 games to produce a good escape and survive in the Premier League this season. And this was far from what I thought was going to happen this season, because West Ham, I said, we're going to finish in the top 10 comfortably, but I don't know. Maybe the team aren't just gelling together. Maybe have they even got the right manager? Was it even right to sack Pochettino? There's so many questions to be answered. But all I'm saying is you cannot spend that amount of money for a new stadium, to go into a new stadium for those new players for the past half decade and be in this position, because you've got to say West Ham have been a disappointment in the last half decade. Yes, we finished mid-table a couple of times, but we really should be higher than that and at least challenging for Europa League football, because with the signings we've made, with the money we've spent, it's just not happening, and we don't know why. But for Spurs, who knows? They might make a late charge towards a Europa League or Champions League spot. Jose Mourinho now could go on one of his magical runs towards the end of the season to try and get European football for Spurs. They're going to have to look over their shoulder, those Spurs, because 2 teams who are fighting with them for Europa League and Champions League football respectively are Sheffield United and Manchester United, who went head to head at Old Trafford Stadium in front of no fans, of course. Manchester United looking to keep that good momentum of run going after that 1-1 draw, which saw Bruno score a penalty. Can they get a win against Sheffield United and try and challenge Chelsea for that final top 4 spot?
Rashford. Oh! Well, Rashford fired it across, and Anthony Martial did well to get a controlled finish on that. And Sheffield United caught completely by surprise.
Basham's just on his heels, and Martial's on the move. It was a brilliant finish.
And Baldock given a sighted goal. They scored a couple this season, the Sheffield United fullback. Here's Rashford. Sheffield United had squeezed up, and they could regret that now. It's Martial looking for another. And Robinson, in the end, denies Marcus Rashford.
How has he missed that? How has he missed that? I just wonder whether he was expecting the pass from Martial. He was looking at him, trying to make an excuse for him. Yeah, he's looking right at Anthony Martial, so there's no real excuse here. Just doesn't get the contact right.
Shaw. In steps Matic. Fernandes. Pogba. Wan-Bissaka. Martial's there again! Well, he really has got his eyes on the prize tonight. It's a double for Anthony Martial.
Oh, so clinical from Martial. Emphatic with his finishes.
Here's Shaw, and it's Anthony Martial, closed down by Robinson. Pogba. He's done brilliantly to get through there, Paul Pogba. Martial snatched the chance away from his colleague. Pogba will be fuming at that.
Well, he can't believe it, Paul Pogba. What a shame. Picks it up, just sort of like rolls it through Berger's legs and then just shimmies through 2 or 3. Martial, it's a lovely tackle. Oh, he could have just left it for him.
This is Pogba. Fernandes with the touch. Here's Anthony Martial. Rashford. Martial! Beautiful finish. And what a moment for Anthony Martial. His first senior hat-trick. And the only sadness for him is that there are no fans here to acclaim it. But a toast, I'm sure, from absent friends.
Manchester United getting a win then, which puts them ever closer to a Champions League spot, beating Sheffield United 3-0. Anthony Martial gets his first ever senior hat-trick. I'm really happy for the lad because he's almost scored 20 goals in all competitions this season. It's been one of his most productive seasons as a Manchester United player, and he really deserved it as well because he was in the right place at the right time. Rashford providing an assist or two, and Sheffield United really did not offer anything. I think that draw against Villa might have demoralised them a little bit, but still Chris Wilder regardless has done a brilliant job. And Solskjaer, of course, there was the scenes at United, of course they gave way to 5 substitutes at the same time. Never seen that before, very weird. But United travel on, they march on. Can they pip Chelsea to that final Champions League spot? It's going to be very, very tricky to do that, but hopefully if they can get a run going, they can do it. We're going to continue the theme of teams battling for European football with Wolves now. Wolves were at home to relegation threats in Bournemouth, who were played off the park in their last game after lockdown against Crystal Palace. Bournemouth really need a good result here because with West Ham losing and Brighton winning against Arsenal and drawing against Leicester, Bournemouth really need to win to see if they can pull away from that dreaded bottom 3. They play Wolves in a big game.
That's a lovely ball from Cook. Onside at the moment, Billy. Wolves looking at the flag, it didn't come. And Bournemouth very nearly stole in. Good strong challenge by Patricio. Wilson inviting Stacey forward. And that's left a gap at the back, which Jota is looking to exploit here. Johnny in support. It's with Traore. Will this open up for Wolves? Traore feints one way, goes the other, and fires it over. Well, that would have been the perfect finish to the first half for Wolves, but it's over the bar from Adama Traore.
Best chance of the game. It's won by Johnny, worked on by Jota. Goes to Traore. He's got the option wide with Jimenez, but he's only got one idea in his mind, and that's go for goal. He's got the space. He's had few chances in the centre of the pitch.
Johnny cutting inside. There's more of the old goal shirts in support here. And that one is turned over by the fingertips of Aaron Ramsdale.
A mishit cross, isn't it? And it's a good save because as a keeper, you're looking for the cross. You're looking, where's he going to put it to? Who's he going to find? And no, he's mishit it, but into the near post top corner. And that's a good save.
Traore stands one up. Oh, attacked brilliantly. And Jimenez has got his reward. It's that same combination again. Traore to Jimenez. 10 times this season they've combined for goals. He unlocked the defence, and Raul Jimenez planted the header in the top of the net.
Great ball to the far post, stands it up, gets it away from Ramsdale, stands it up at the far post, buys that yard of space, works it across the 6-yard box, and there is the leap and the attack. That's the moment he's been waiting for.
Coutinho delivers and Ramsdale reacts brilliantly. Swept away by Solanke. He was going the other way, Aaron Ramsdale, but he adjusted his feet really well. Not sure how much, I think it was Willy Bolly knew about it. And then a wonderful run takes him through. Oh, this could finish it in real style. Oh, it's wide. Neto with a jinking run, but not the finish this time to match. Bournemouth led off.
That crushing defeat for Bournemouth leaves them over a win's worth of points behind Brighton, which is really where the safety net begins for them. And it's been a really, really tough last couple of months. It's 15 defeats now out of their last 20. No clean sheet. Again, that's been their problem. They cannot keep a clean sheet, Bournemouth. Yes, Aaron Ramsdale's been in terrific form this season and should get a big move to a team like West Ham or Wolves or even a Spurs. But still, it's just not been the season that they've wanted. And again, ever since they've come into the league, Bournemouth, they have been leaking goals, and it's the defence more than ever that's been at fault for it. They just can't sort their defence out. It's aging. They haven't brought in any experienced players at this level that can defend and know how to keep teams up. Like, for example, Crystal Palace done with Gary Cahill this season. He brought him on for a free because he's experienced and he knows how to defend. He knows how to keep teams, afloat when they're trying to defend from an attack. But for Wolves, it's that combination again, Traore and Jimenez. 10 goals this season have come from that combination, and Wolves are striding towards Europe. They've done really well post-lockdown. The same combination that battered West Ham, it's the same combination that batters Bournemouth. Fully deserved Wolves, and I cannot wait to see them in Europe next season, hopefully with some new signings on the way. So with Wolves winning, it puts the pressure on Arsenal, who have had two very poor displays over the last couple of weeks. They, of course, lost to Manchester City in their first game after Project Restart, and then, of course, they lost to Brighton at the end. Can they win against Southampton, who are in good form, with Danny Ings being one of the top scorers in the league? Can they put pressure on Wolves and try and keep their faint Europe hopes alive? They faced Southampton with a much-changed squad, and this is what happened.
No flag here against Aubameyang. And he hits the crossbar with the goal at his mercy.
Jack Stevens got in a bit of a mess here. He just hesitates for a second, the centre-half, that he's never going to catch Aubameyang. I thought he was sure to score, and I think he did as well, the striker. Golden opportunity, that.
Bednarek. Oh, McCarthy's made a mistake, and Nketiah will pounce, and Nketiah will score. A loss of concentration and a gift for Eddie Nketiah.
Well, I just do not know what McCarthy was thinking here. In the end, it's the easiest of chances. It's a poacher's goal, one that he will really enjoy. And Arsenal in general will. Just what they needed.
Ward-Prowse. Glance by Ceballos, straight to Redmond! Rippled aside netting.
Did everything that he would have wanted to, apart from getting that shot on target, and had enough time to set himself here.
Stevens. Long, no flag. Great save though, followed in by Ings, and Martinez does the job for Arsenal.
It's a good pass, but that is a good save to avoid any bits and pieces. Hits it true and gets up quickly, the keeper.
Aubameyang spotting the chance to seize on it. Stevens didn't get it, but he did go in with the challenge. I wonder how much of the man he got. Graham Scott is there, and he feels he was brought down and sends him off. For the second time in his career, Jack Stevens is sent off against Arsenal. Lacazette gets the honours once and twice. The second was rather better, and the follow-up from Willock will do the job for Arsenal. If at first you don't succeed in all that, and Joe Willock has hammered in his first Premier League goal for the Gunners.
Yeah, that'll take the nerves away from the last few minutes, if sense.
Arsenal then winning for the first time in 3 matches. 2 goals from Eddie Nketiah and Joe Willock securing the win. It keeps their faint Europa League hopes alive. Southampton losing for the first time, of course, since Project Restart. And Arsenal did deserve it. No idea what Alex McCarthy was doing for the first goal. Eddie Nketiah, who was on loan at Leeds for the first half of the season, he pounced to score his first Arsenal goal, I think, this season. And then Joe Willock tapping him home a rebound from a free kick, which was as a result of Jack Stevens getting sent off after putting down Aubameyang. He was the last man, Stevens, and the referee deemed it to be a red card. And Arsenal really haven't had a good season, but if they can maybe string a run together, who knows, maybe an outside shot. But the way they've played the season, I don't think they've deserved it. And they've rewarded David Luiz, who's the meme of the last week or so, with another 1-year contract. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Arsenal showing us again why they're called Banter Football Club. But also in the Premier League, we had a massive relegation battle. Watford really needed to win at Turf Moor to keep their hopes alive. They're in a similar situation to West Ham, except Watford do have more momentum after drawing with Leicester at the last. And they couldn't win. Burnley's Jay Rodriguez scoring the goal, which ultimately consigned Watford to another week in the relegation scrap. They're still not on 30 points yet, Watford. It is still possible that they can stay up, though. Nigel Pearson obviously done this with Leicester. I've said a couple of episodes back, he can do it. He's done it before, he can do it again, and he's got a really good squad. They made chances, but in the end, Burnley took one of their few chances. And yeah, Burnley, of course, fighting for mid-table, which is a pretty decent season, Burnley. But we'll obviously talk about the game they had before Manchester City in a little bit while after we round up the rest of the Premier League. But good win for Burnley, especially after getting beat by City. They still have a chance of finishing 10th. They do need to close the gap to the likes of Everton and Newcastle, who we are going to talk about now. But a good win for the Clarets at home. At Carrow Road, Everton kept up the pace with the likes of Arsenal and Crystal Palace by winning away from home. A Michael Keane header sentencing Norwich to yet another defeat. Like Bournemouth, they are in freefall. And if they lose their next 4 or 5 games, that could be game over for them. They're 6 points from safety, I believe. And relegation is looking an imminent threat now. I don't think Norwich are going to stay up. They didn't really have a lot of chances. And the young, youthful, inexperienced squad, you have to say as well, in the Premier League, are not really going to deliver. Pukki hasn't scored any goals since, of course, before the lockdown was imposed. But a good win for Everton. Carlo Ancelotti looking like he might take them on a little bit of an end-of-season run, which could see them finish as high as 8th, which, if you consider the start that Everton had, would be a little bit of a recovery, and a good recovery for Ancelotti, as he will have money to spend in the next transfer window. Hopefully, maybe he can bring some players in or sell some players on. Obviously, Oumar Niasse is leaving Everton, so maybe they'll look for a replacement for him next summer. But yeah, good win for Everton. Newcastle as well, in and around that mid-table battle with Burnley. They drew 1-1 at home. Dwight Gale scoring his second goal of the season. And Ahmed El Mohammadi, former Hull City right back, scoring what could be a huge goal for Villa as they rescued a point at Tyneside. Brilliant, hard-fought point. One of the main talking and laughing points as well was Andy Carroll's beard, which is probably as bad as KSI's right now. But yeah, absolutely hilarious. Former West Ham man, of course, Andy Carroll looking like... I don't even know what that beard is. I'm not really too sure. He is just... He's gone his own way, and clearly we laugh at him for that. But yeah, back to the football. Newcastle fighting for mid-table. Aston Villa, would that point be vital? If they maybe start to go on a run, maybe they have a chance of staying up, and they will look back at this game and think, boy, that was a vital point. Because if they had lost this, they would have been in a similar situation to the likes of Norwich and Bournemouth. I still think Villa will go down, though. I think with the money they've spent, with the injuries they've had, they will still go down. Jack Grealish was probably man of the match again for them. He will obviously be in the shop window, as he has been for the past couple of seasons as Aston Villa captain. Now, with all that's going on in the world with Black Lives Matter protests and, of course, the recent killings of Rayshard Brooks and George Floyd, the Manchester City-Burnley game was kind of marred at the start due to the overhead flying of a banner that said White Lives Matter as a answer back to the Black Lives Matter protest group. Now, my opinions on that is it should not have happened. You shouldn't be flying a banner like that, especially now where arguably we've hit the peak of the protests, because they're happening every single day now here and in America, and it's just an absolute joke. I've talked about racism before, near the start of the season, way back in the episodes. If you look on my channel, I talked about racism for a little bit after Tammy Abraham got racially abused after the UEFA Super Cup loss to Liverpool. But here, I think it's as worse as the Tammy Abraham and Raheem Sterling incidents that have happened quite recently. I think that it shouldn't have been flying over. It's disrespectful. Obviously, the players taking a knee now for the games because of the Black Lives Matter movement is a very good thing to do. And yes, Black Lives do matter. But I think, in the sense of that banner that was flagged, that was floated all over the stadium, you could say that, maybe they were thinking that, white lives matter just as important as black lives. And that is true. White lives are just as important as black lives. Every life matters, in my opinion. Whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're another ethnic minority, all lives matter. But I think in this scenario, in this environment that that America has created for itself, that has been sort of spread, localized around the world, really, with all these Black Lives Matter protests, I think it was wrong to fly the drone over White Lives Matter, and I think it was disrespectful, and there has been action taken over at Burnley. I'm investigating the drone and who flew the banner across the top of the stadium, and Blackpool Airport has suspended all flights because of the localized area that they obviously had the banner flying by. But it isn't right in this environment, I think. But yes, black lives do matter. Time to talk about the Football League, and the League 2 playoffs have been resumed. We had Cheltenham Town against Northampton. Northampton go through to Wembley after producing an incredible comeback. Cheltenham Town were winning 2-0 away against Northampton. Then Northampton came back to Wadden Road and beat Cheltenham Town by 3-0. Callum Morton and Verdane Oliver scoring the key goals that puts Northampton Town within the brink of returning to League One. And the last manager to return Northampton to League One, Chris Wilder, ladies and gentlemen. Fun facts for you. And also the team they'll be facing is Exeter, after they managed to beat Colchester after extra time. Exeter then, again, they are quite a big club in League Two. They've had a lot of good players come through there. Jayden Stockley, one of the recent ones that have moved on to Preston North End. That'll be a pretty entertaining final. Exeter and Northampton. The good defence of Exeter against the brilliant attack fluidity of Northampton Town. Pretty good. Also, Macclesfield were avoided relegation. They were deprived of relegation after, of course, their ongoing off-the-field pitch issues. Hopefully they can resolve that in time for the next season. Otherwise, I think they will struggle, a little bit like Bolton, who will be entering League 2 at the start of the season. They were in the Premier League 10 years ago. How time flies in 10 years. Also, briefly, just to give you other news, the Women's World Cup in 2023 will be hosted jointly with two joint countries, Australia and New Zealand, which means two things. The climate will be very hot over there, and also it's going to be pretty much nigh impossible for England fans or US fans to travel halfway around the world to Australia and New Zealand. So yeah, that's FIFA for you. The other suggestion was in Colombia, I think, but yeah, it's going to be hosted in the Pacific countries. But yeah, also in La Liga, Real Mallorca's Luca Romero became the youngest Spanish La Liga player to represent a club at just 15 years at 216 days. That is mental. He is supposed to be doing his year 10 exams at this point, but no, he's making his debut for Mallorca. The next Messi, who knows? But watch out for this kid. He could be something special. But that is going to wrap up this week's version of the Chris Talks Football Podcast, episode number 30. Hopefully you have enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. Over 70% of you guys who are watching have not subscribed. I want to get that number down as low as humanly possible. Stay safe, you guys. Take care and have a good week. I will see you guys next time for another episode.
I don't understand why you're so